Я помычусь, а я полечу, реки шасо около.
Major ancient sources which point to country Rosh as the antediluvian civilization, because in the epos of Gilgamesh it is said that Gilgamesh on the territory of Russia will meet with gods and the immortal man Utnapishtim who survived global flood. Gilgamesh epos states that the gods of Sumer were living on the territory of Russia, and the most important thing of the Gilgamesh epos is that Gilgamesh epos describes this civilization on the territory of Russia as the antediluvian civilization of some beings highly advanced technologically, highly civilized and ancient beings that survived the global flood. And in fact, Sumer, which is considered to be the most ancient by Anglo-Saxons, is actually Samar civilization, because in the epicenter of the civilization we have the city Samara. So the city Samara in Russia, which stands in the place of confluence of the river Ra, Volga, and river Samara, meaning itself Ra, to the right of Volga, flowing from Urals into river Ra. So this city Samara is more ancient than the city Samara in Iraq. And we also have river Samara in the present day Ukraine, which was always Russian territory. And why Russia? Russia is precisely the country Rosh, meaning that Russia was actually the country of Ra, and Ra means light. So everyone on this planet comes from the light, from the single source field. And this light is called Ra and in Sanskrit. And in fact, Russian is the most archaic form of Sanskrit according to the expertise of Durga Prasad Shastri. And the same thing with Egypt. This Matsya who brought civilization to Egypt, she is depicted as falconess, and this falcon was called Ra Rog, meaning the falcon from Ra. And falcon is our ancestral symbol. So Anglo-Saxons and German Saxons and Russian Sak, they had the same ancestor, the same as Mongoloids, Kai-Sak. They had the same ancestor as well. And our ancestors called themselves Sokol, and abbreviation is Sak, and Sokol is a Russian word for falcon. So they brought falcon culture to every continent, and these were Russian women. And that is why in India we have gods called Devi, which is the Russian word for virgin, and teachers called Baba, the Russian word for women. And the second name of Shiva, which is in Hindi, and in Sanskrit it is Siva, Sva, meaning Svet. The other word for Ra, light. The second name of Shiva, Siva, Sva, is Makesh. And Makosh is the major Russian matriarch, goddess, which was depicted as sun, female sun. So sun, Ra was female. So that is why we have Rama. Ra means son, Ma means mother, or Mara, Ma means mother, or Ra means son. So getting back to this location, this is one of the major locations in South Africa. We see here the destroyed antediluvian pyramid. So why we say that this is a pyramid? Every pyramid destroyed has first, it has very correctly shaped blocks. And we see granite blocks and marble blocks together, meaning that it is not nature-made. And we see this combination of different blocks from different materials in Newport, Rhode Island, so-called Stone Walk, in Botanical Garden in Bronx Botanical Garden in New York, which is also major destroyed pyramid. We see the same thing in Archaim, Russia. We see the whole set of pyramids in Urals, and Archaim means Arcona. On is the suffix of the Scythian Sak domination of the ancient world. We dominated ancient world, had global empire 3 times in the ancient times. We gave culture to Hebrews. That's why Ethiopian Hebrews have Russian alphabet with cha, sha, sha, hissing sounds that is absent from any other alphabet, and they pray to swastikas. We brought culture to Egypt and India and ancient Sumer, which is actually Samar. And we see on this all of these sites, we see these blocks, right? The correct blocks, which are made from different materials. Sometimes these blocks actually form the brick kind of wall structure, right? And they were destroyed evidently by some gravitational bomb. So blocks literally were raised up and they fallen. And we also see the laser cuts. So this was the war described in Vedas, and Vedas are much more ancient than any artifact of our civilization of the patriarchal times, because matriarchy was before patriarchy. And Old Testament, Tanakh, and even Egyptian manuscripts are patriarchal times, though Egyptian manuscripts actually preserve more of matriarchy. The same kind of actually applies to Sumer. It's patriarchal culture, meaning that it is a very recent culture. And in Russia, we actually have this matriarchal culture preserved. That's why we have alphabet consisting of 33 letters, because when it was transitioned from matriarchy to patriarchy, there was a major fall of civilization, degradation, because women were not allowed to teach children, and man cannot teach a child because he needs to do some other things, and he was actually designated for doing some, physical labor. So that is why in Hebrew, a classical Hebrew, we have 22 letters, and in Greek 24 letters. It is actually the sign of the degeneration of culture, because in Scythian ancient alphabet we had 49 letters and then more than 100 runes. And we see some of them on these megalithic structures, by the way. And Africans preserved this culture, and it is preserved here precisely because this is a very stable geological plate, the same as in Western Siberia and in Urals. It is the plate in Urals in the Western Siberia which is sustainable in 130 scenarios of global catastrophes. That is why if you want to see any ancient culture around the globe, you can see it only in Russia and in South Africa. And that is why South Africans, both black and white, and Russians have this very deep connection. And when these matriarchs came from the north to Africa, they married black Africans. And the same they did actually in India. If you see Hanuman in India, he's a black guy married to a very white woman. So these sites have, I repeat, blocks, different blocks. They look very kind of correct blocks, but besides gravitational weapon, bomb, and besides laser cuts, they use plasma weapon. That's why many blocks are corroded, and some of them actually got completely liquefied. So see here, some of them are deformed, some of them got completely liquefied. And we see the structure of the stone. It was liquefied by plasma weapon to such a degree that we don't see any microorganisms growing. No plants can grow on this kind of surface. So much it got destroyed by plasma weapon on the nano level. So it's like dead matter, literally. And we see other stones liquefied by plasma. So in Archaim, Urals, we see the same thing. We see pyramids with this stones half liquefied. So we see this blocks, right, in kind of brick kind structure, and we see how the structure got liquefied, so it got deformed, but we still see how one block gets into another block in a kind of brick structure. So we see some blocks completely liquefied, and also we see this kind of round cavities, you see, which are so correct form that you cannot get this with nature. Also, we get laser cuts like that, and we have laser cuts like this in the arc kind of shape, which is impossible to get with any erosion or any kind of natural process in nature. Also, we see these blocks evidently destroyed by some global warfare, and because we see this destruction all over the globe, and they're lying in such positions that cannot be actually done by natural storms, you see, and or any kind of natural disaster scenarios. And the major thing that actually points out to the fact that these were actually destroyed pyramids is that our ancestors, those who survived, they put one block upon another block. So when you come to this megalithic sites all over the globe, from Kola Peninsula in Russia, where we actually have undestroyed pyramids, which according to Kudinov, scientific tests are at least twice as old as Egyptian pyramids. And if you come to the pyramids of Archaim, which is actually Arcona, because our goddess, our mother, was called Yarga, which is swastika, sun, and later called by Gargona, and she was depicted as a woman snake with her hair as snakes, her hands as snakes, her legs as snakes, and her dress as snakes. So this reptilian agenda is precisely aiming at separating us from our ancestral legacy, because depicting animals was considered to be sacred, because every living form comes to this dimension through the Great Mother, through her womb. And we have the depiction of Great Mother with plants and animals in her womb. That is why nothing is evil, even a snake. Snake was considered to be good. Athena Pallada was depicted with snake on her breast, and we see snakes in India as well. All these gods are depicted with snakes. So getting back to these sites, they have this kind of structures, clearly man-made. So they have these stones, one megalithic stones put in above other megalithic stone, right? And these were giants. And at one of the sites here in South Africa, we have the imprint of the man's foot, human foot, into this matter, and nobody till now explained how we got this imprint. So the imprint was precisely from the liquefied stone by plasma weapon. These people were running, our ancestors were running for their life. And this was the war between brothers. The Vedas say that this was the war between blood brothers. So this means that no evil reptilian, came to this planet to eliminate our species. And matriarchs work Ana. In Russian, it's Ana. That's why the ancient capital of our ancestors in the present day Turkey, Anatolia, is called Ani, and Anunnaki and Anastasia is basically the same thing. So these women who brought culture to Sumer, they were not these evil reptilians who enslaved locals, right? These were women who Baba and Devi and Baba, who brought culture and civilization, who actually taught Africans, who were us, because everyone here comes through the light. No evil can come through the 0 point of the wave crystal. So every soul who comes to this dimension is a good soul from the light, is a falcon, rarok, firebird, phoenix, yasna sokol, of phoenix. So we see here, again, we see all the elements. We see the molten stone, we see laser cuts, we see brick kind of structure of megaliths, we see different stones, together, megaliths from different kind of material, geological material. We see how they are lying after being lifted by the gravitational bomb and dropped down. And all these elements, plasma weapon, laser weapon, and gravitational weapon, is clearly here. We also see this artificial structure when one stone is put upon another stone. So this is a grave. So these were giants, and for them 17 maybe and up height, and for them these were small stones, and they put the stones on the graves of their deceased loved ones. And we see the same thing in Hampi, India. And in Hampi, India, we can see the temples, medieval temples, 14th, 15th, 16th century temples, and we see there the reproductions of the graves. And the stones became smaller, but we still see the structure. One bigger stone, then a smaller stone on this bigger stone as a designation of the grave. This is the emergence of the so-called grave monument. So these people literally made monuments for their loved ones who got killed in this global warfare. So Graham Hancock is completely wrong when he says that this antediluvian civilization got destroyed by the comet. This antediluvian civilization was destroyed by the war between Russian-Aryans. Russian was before Aryan because the country was Rosh, from the word Ra. And Aryan emerged when the writing changed its direction from the direction from right to left to the direction from left to right. So Ra became R, and near the North Pole we have three rivers, Aryan, Sura and Ala, because Ala and Ara are the same, and the whole territory of Russia is covered by the rivers Aryan and Sura and Allah. So we brought Surya, you see, to Middle East and founded Syria. So we give very deep connection to Africa, to Middle East. Jerusalem is literally Urus Alim. This is how locals call the city. Urus means Russian, how all southern nations actually call Russians. They call them Rus. And Alim means teacher. So Jerusalem, Urusalem, it's literally a city of Russian teacher. So it is very important for us right now to recreate the true history, to keep our connection alive to our giant Russian-Aryan ancestors from the north. And they call themselves Sokol, as I said, falcon. So the Eye of Horus belongs to us. And this Adam's calendar, which is located also in this location, by Tellinger, called Adam's calendar. It is not Adam's calendar, it is Russian calendar. So welcome to the quantum leap, because our ancestors had quantum technologies. And welcome to the major heritage site in South Africa. Thank you.
Да посеяли девки лёны, да посеяли девки лёны, шиндёр на вендёр, не балуйся, не дури, девки лён, да посеявши пололи, да посеявши пололи, шиндёр на вендёр, не балуйся, не дури, пололи. Да белые ручки кололи, да белые ручки кололи, шиндёр на вендёре, не балуйся, не дури, кололи, да моего мужа правды нет, да моего мужа правды нет, шиндёр на вендёре, не балуйся, не дури, правды нет, да чужой Жанне лапти сплю, да чужой Жанне лапти сплю, шиндёр на вендёре, не балуйся, не дури, лапти сплю, а своей Жанне а своей Жанне а ночи, шиндёр на вендёре, не балуйся, не дури, а ночи. Оседлающий я коня вороного, я помычусь, а я полячу, рекой шосо около, я помычусь, а я полячу, рекой шосо легша сокола через поля, а я за моря в долине сто рано через поля, а я за моря в долине сто рано через поля, а я за моря в долине сторону соберусь, а я снаряжусь добрыми молодцам, соберусь, а я снаряжусь добрыми молодцам. Соберусь, а я снаряжусь добрыми молодцам. И приглянусь я опять красным девицам, и приглянусь я опять